We celebrate Pascha for 40 days until the Ascension. The first 2 Sundays after Pascha are very focused on Pascha itself. Last week we remembered St. Thomas, and today we remember, that was 8 days after the resurrection. Today we remember the mirror bearers who come on the day of the resurrection, and with them we're always connecting the noble Joseph and righteous Nicodemus. If you'll remember just the events of what has just taken place at the resurrection. So on the Friday or the Thursday night, it begins, and there's this arrest, and there's this bringing the Lord through a whole string of meetings with different people where he's beaten, whether he is flogged, he is questioned, and eventually he is crucified. All the while there are people around who are screaming, "Crucify him, crucify him," when the Pilate gives them the opportunity to let him go. And they said, "No, no." And Pilate even says it looks like it may be a riot. We need to end this. And so the Lord is crucified, and there's great fear among the apostles. The only apostle that stands at the crucifixion is our own blessed John, and mirror bearers, attendants to the Mother of God. And maybe there were probably others, maybe onlookers. Certainly Longinus was there, a great saint later on in the church. But the apostles have fled. There's fear. And they have to get him down very quickly because the Sabbath is approaching. He dies at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They have to get him down quickly. Noble Joseph comes from Arimathea, who has already a tomb right there. If you go to Jerusalem, you can see where he was buried, and you can see where he was crucified, and the distance is not very far. They take him down from the Golgotha, and they wrap him very quickly in linens and spices, and they place him in this tomb that's some 40 yards away at most. It's Joseph's tomb. And they seal the tomb, and a guard is placed there. You know all of these things. I'm just recounting to try to get a feel for what things are like. The day of rest comes, Sabbath, and the next day, very early in the morning, we begin to have visits to the tomb. We read today about one of those visits. Some people get confused about the mirror bearers because they think, oh, the apostles really didn't know what happened, because look, read this and read, each of the 4 Gospels speaks about it, but in different ways. Because, as Gregory Palamas points out to us, but not him alone, but certainly Gregory in a very eloquent way says, oh, there were lots of visits there. And even in the scriptures you can see, because the descriptions of each of those visits is different. In one case there's an earthquake. In another case there's an angel who comes and rolls a stone away. We have 2 men one time inside the tomb. Another time we only have 1. Speaks about 1 coming, 2 coming, several coming. So there are many visits that go over and over. And that only makes sense, does it not? Gregory Palamas takes issue with what appears to be, he doesn't take issue with the scriptures, but what he says is, when it says that Mary Magdalene was the first to see the Lord, Gregory Palamas says, well, they wrote that, but they wrote that for a reason. He said, because they knew that people were going to look at these scriptures and they were going to try to impugn them. And so rather than make his mother the first one to see him, it's Mary Magdalene, who probably was there when his mother first saw him. But Gregory Palamas says very black, I mean, just in black and white, and he goes through the scriptures, a beautiful homily about it, if you would like to read it sometime. And he says the Mother of God, being the new Eve, is the first to see the new creation. Just like the old Eve was the first to see the first man, Adam. There's always this connection between the first Eve and the new Eve, between Eve and our blessed Theotokos. And so she sees him first and touches him first, Gregory says to us, even though that, and he very clearly says the scriptures sort of veil that very well, so that they can not be, at least the amount of impugnment that's given to them would be lessened. In our icons, we even see the fact we have 3 mirror bearers here, but some icons only have 2. Some icons of the mirror bearers have 7. And we read in the Orthros this morning, they refer to 8 mirror bearers. So there are a number of mirror bearers. The names are given to us in Orthros if you want to we can get that for you and let you read that later on. But, so what did the myrrh bearers do? They come on this morning to a closed tomb that has a big rock in front of it. But they come nevertheless, because they come in faith. St. Nikolai Velimirovich, one of my favorite 20th century saints, although there's some great saints of the 20th century, believe me. St. Nikolai writes this: man is sublime when he cares for the living. Man is more than sublime when he cares for the dead. And so the myrrh bearers come to attend and finish things that couldn't be done on that Friday because they had no time to finish it. They bring ointments, special ointments and things to anoint his body and to take care of him, to honor him as was their custom. And so what I want to do today is leave you with three adjectives that I think speak about who they are, and we should sort of try to make our own. And in all honesty, they just came to me, and they're not really what I would say or what you would normally hear. So I have to explain them a little bit. The first adjective is simple. Simple. The myrrh bearers were simple women. But brothers and sisters, they were anything but simpletons. The Mother of God probably knew more theology than anyone except the Lord himself. She lived with him. She knew him. She lived with the apostles. They weren't simple people. They were simple in their living. They focused on the one thing needful. As you've heard me say before, or some of you have, maybe newer people haven't, but sometimes people want to make Christianity very difficult. Christianity is incredibly what? Simple. It's very simple. It's probably the hardest thing in the world to do, but it's simple. If I were to ask you, I think almost everybody in here could answer, what is the greatest commandment that you've been given? Don't answer. I'm going to. You need to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, with your whole being, and your neighbor as yourself. It's simple. It's not rocket science. Blessed ones, we have great fathers of our church called theologians, and those who weren't called theologians who write exquisitely about the depths of the Godhead. And those are important pieces of writing for lots of reasons. And we need to try to make those our own as best we can. But in the end, it's really a simple way of living. To love God and to love your fellow man. That's what they did. They were simple in their living. May we be simple. Second of all, they were pious. Well, I'm going to tell you, I think pious is a word that's fallen on hard times. How many people in the world speak about being pious? I mean, lots of times you hear pious and you think, well, that was one of the popes, wasn't it? Was he a good pope or a bad pope? He did some good things, he did some bad things. No, we're not talking about that. Oh, you're talking about, if you go look it up on I love the fact that I don't have to go grab a dictionary. I can just pull out my phone and write pious in there, and it tells me the definition. But they're rather short. It's not like that big one that Paul Parham used to have. He always wanted to look up his words in. So, but the second one is about being sort of fake. Pious that word has fallen on hard times. But in fact, the myrrh bearers were pious women. It really means devotedly faithful. Devotedly faithful. And what did they? They simply did the things that their faith called them to do, and they did them with love and determination. And they go to the tomb having no clue how they'll get in. trusting the Lord. And he rewards them. He doesn't let them do what they set out to do, but he gives them something far greater. He gives them an empty tomb. And some of them even get to see the Lord risen from the dead. And they become the apostles to the apostles. They're the ones who bring the good news to the apostles. It's not Peter and Paul. Oh, excuse me, Paul not yet, really, right? But not Peter or John or any of the others who are going there early in the morning to take care of it. So it's those faithful, simple, pious women who love God, and we should emulate. Thirdly, strong. Third word, simple, pious, and strong. Well, I think you could probably say, okay, well, I need to be strong, but that's hard, right? It's hard to be strong in the world. I mean, the world it's difficult. It's fallen. The world has chosen not to just believe in some things, it's chosen to believe in everything. That is not healthy. It is not healthy to believe that black is white and that the number 1 is actually the number 7. It's not healthy to believe things that are untrue, but the world has embraced so much that's untrue to believe it and to say, oh, we need to affirm that. If somebody wants to believe something, well, they believe that. Let's say that's good. Brothers and sisters, it's not good to believe that there's no fire raging when the wildfire is 2 feet away. Don't do that. Strong, being strong. These women were strong. They were like Polycarp. When Polycarp is taken to his martyrdom in Smyrna, they say, you know, all you need to do to let this go is just to denounce Christ. And his words are, says, my Lord has loved me for 86 years. For 86 years, he's taken care of me. Who am I to say, no, now, at this hour, burn me up? And they do. Of course, his body doesn't burn, and it's a beautiful fragrance, but he dies. There's and I'll close with this. There's I can't tell you who said it, but I'm sure it was one of a famous monastic, was asked one time, and he said, Holy Father, we have seen unbelievable miracles. We've literally seen the uncreated light by God's mercy and grace at times, and says, will those who come after us do greater things than God has allowed us to do? And the holy elder looks at them and he says, my dear brothers, as things draw to a close, merely to believe the truth will be a greater work than anything we've ever done. It takes strength to believe the truth. And that's what these blessed women did. And that's what we're called to do, is to believe what's true. Every Sunday, every time we get a chance, we say the creed. But we need to believe it. And when I say believe, I don't just mean say, oh yeah, that's right. No. We live based on what those words are. We live our faith. We do our faith. Belief is not just mental assent. Belief is surrendering yourself to that reality. Do you and I really believe that Christ rose from the dead? Do we really believe that he's here with us? Do we live like that? That's the charge that the mirror bearers give to us, because that's how they live. May we be simple, pious, and strong people following their example and their prayers. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, one God.